The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. Niccolo Machiavelli. Manipulation doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it smiles, flatters, even prays with you. It offers gifts, says what you want to hear, praise. Ask yourself, when was the last time you said yes but meant no? When did you feel guilty for setting a boundary? Who makes you feel selfish for choosing your own peace? Machiavelli understood something brutal but true. People will use fear or affection to control you, whichever works best. Jung added the deeper warning: they only succeed. You are manipulated because someone touches the part of you that still craves approval, still fears abandonment, still hopes to be chosen. So ask again, are you acting from clarity or compulsion? Are you giving from freedom or fear? Are you serving a bond or repeating a pattern? Manipulation is not an external event. It is an internal agreement made without your awareness. You hand over the script. But here's the truth. No one can hijack a center that's fully occupied. So the question isn't, how do I stop them? It's, why do I still leave myself open to be used? And that answer, once faced, is the start of your freedom. You were raised to be agreeable, to be kind, flexible, forgiving. You were taught to see the best in. But here's the cost no one warned you about. When you're trained to prioritize harmony over truth, you become a target, not for love, but for control. Ask yourself, how many times have you ignored your gut to keep the peace? How often have you felt confused after saying yes, like something in you just got smaller? Who in your life demands your loyalty but never offers clarity? Jung studied the structure of the soul, and both warned, though in different languages, that manipulation thrives not in cruelty, but in unconsciousness. People don't take your power by force. They wait until you give it away, bit by bit, under the illusion of connection. You think you're being generous, but are you actually being captured? The manipulators of today don't wear crowns. They wear smiles. They quote scripture. They call you soulmate. They flatter your goodness while exploiting your wounds. And the more unaware you are of those wounds, the easier you are to script. This isn't about becoming cynical. It's about becoming sovereign. Because every manipulative dynamic has two parts: their strategy and your silence. The moment you begin to see the game, the spell breaks. The moment you name the pressure, the guilt, the flattery, the strings lose their grip. So ask, are you truly giving from choice, or have you just forgotten how to say no? Have you mistaken compliance for love? And most of all, are you living your life or living someone else's design? This work begins when you stop asking how to please them and start asking how to. Jung teaches that the unconscious does not vanish when ignored. It rules you from the shadows. Machiavelli mapped the external tactics of power. Jung reveals the inner fractures that make you vulnerable to those tactics. To understand how to never be manipulated again, you must see how the structures of your psyche either shield you or betray you. The persona, the mask that sells you out. But when you forget it's a mask, when you mistake it for your real identity, it becomes the first doorway for manipulation. You say yes when your soul means no. You smile through resentment. You suppress your instinct to protect harmony. And what happens? Others learn that your mask is easier to negotiate with than your. Ask yourself, who do you become when you're afraid to disappoint? How many of your yeses are masks for fear of rejection? Do you even know the difference anymore? The persona is not evil, but when you identify with it completely, you let manipulators negotiate with your costume while yourself goes silent. The shadow, the weapon you hand them. Your shadow is but what you bury does not disappear, it leaks. Manipulators sense it and use it. If you deny your anger, they provoke you until it explodes. If you deny your selfishness, they guilt you into endless giving. If you deny your hunger for power, you surrender it to those bold enough. Ask, when did you last say no without apology? When did you let yourself feel suspicion without shame? Who convinced you that strength was cruelty? The truth is simple. Until you integrate your shadow, someone else will wield it against you. You think you are virtuous, but in truth, you are defenseless. Complexes, the emotional knots they pull. The abandonment you never faced becomes the terror that obeys anyone who promises security. Manipulators don't need to overpower you. They only need to pull the right. Ask which words undo you instantly. Whose disapproval still feels like death? Why does criticism silence you when you know it's not the end of the world? The manipulator doesn't hypnotize you. You hypnotize yourself because the wound is still alive, still unintegrated, still begging to be soothed. Until you untie these knots, you see in others what you have not claimed in yourself. You project your disowned strength onto leaders, lovers, mentors, and then you obey them, worship them, fear them. You call them brilliant, inspiring, powerful, but often ask, who do you still place on a pedestal? Whose opinion matters more than your own? Who do you fear losing because you believe they carry something essential that you lack? Until you reclaim your projection, you will keep inflating others while shrinking yourself. The self, the sovereign that cannot be bought. For Jung, the goal is not to destroy persona, shadow complexes, or projection, but to integrate them into the self. The self is your true center, the wholeness that no longer fractures under pressure. From the self, you can wear the persona without believing it, express the shadow without being possessed by it. The self cannot be manipulated, not because others stop trying, but because there are no unclaimed parts left to exploit. Praise does not seduce you. Guilt does not bind you. Fear does not silence you. You hear the words, so ask yourself now, are you living as a mask or as a whole? Are you reacting from the child's wound or responding from the adult self? Do you still crave to be chosen, or will you finally choose yourself? Machiavelli warned that rulers use fear and love to control. Jung adds, they only succeed when you abandon your own center. To never be manipulated again, that is the foundation. That is the freedom. Manipulation rarely announces itself with cruelty. It arrives with charm, with need, with flattery. You don't recognize it at first because it looks like care, like loyalty, like love. But if you look closely, you will see the pattern. Your will bends, your clarity fades, your voice weakens. The examples differ in detail, but share one law. The charming leader. You meet someone persuasive, magnetic, inspiring. They see your potential, praise your abilities, speak of loyalty and vision. You feel chosen, seen, important. And before you notice, you're bending your schedule, your values, your truth to keep their approval. Every time they reward you with praise, you feel alive. Every time they withdraw it, you feel small. Do you see the leash? You thought you were loyal to. Ask who in your life makes you feel valuable only when you serve their vision. And how long will you mistake their approval for your worth? The needy friend. They call at midnight crying. They text endlessly demanding attention. They tell you, you're the only one I can trust. And you, wanting to be kind, answer. But soon your life revolves around their moods. You feel guilty if you don't respond. You feel cruel if you set a boundary. Ask, are you helping them grow or just feeding their dependency? Who taught you that love means abandoning yourself? The romantic bond. At first, it's intoxicating, grand gestures, affection, intensity. Then comes withdrawal, silence, coldness. They watch you scramble, apologize, overcompensate just to earn back what once flowed freely. This is not intimacy, it's training. Your nervous system learns. Ask, when did love begin to feel like a performance? When did being chosen become more important than choosing yourself? The spiritual manipulator. They speak of light, love, healing. They quote scripture, preach forgiveness, demand compassion. But watch what happens when you bring your anger, your boundaries, your shadow. They shame you. You're not evolved. And so you silence your truth, exile your instinct, bow to their version of purity. This is not spirituality. It's control dressed as virtue. Ask who in your life weaponizes goodness to make you obedient. Who punishes your shadow under the name of light? The authority figure. It could be a boss, a parent, a mentor. They withhold clarity, leaving you guessing. They never state their expectations outright, but they let you feel their disappointment. And so you overwork, over-explain, over-prepare, hoping to stay safe. What feels like discipline is really domination through vagueness. Ask, who do you still feel like a child around, performing to earn their nod? And how much of your life has been built on the hope of pleasing them? You meet someone you admire, charismatic, talented, confident. You project your unclaimed strength onto them, and suddenly their opinion feels sacred. One word of encouragement, and you soar. One hint of criticism, and you collapse. They don't even need to manipulate you actively. You are already doing it to yourself. Ask, who have you placed on a pedestal so high that their voice matters more than your own? Why do you still give away sovereignty that belongs only to you? These examples are not rare. They are woven into friendships, romances, workplaces, even families. Each time the dynamic repeats, charm hooks you, guilt binds you, fear silences. The manipulator does not need chains. They only need to press where you. So ask yourself now, who in your life leaves you smaller after every interaction? Who demands loyalty at the expense of your truth? Who punishes your no and rewards only your compliance? And most important, why do you still call that bond love, friendship, or duty, when in truth it is captivity? Until you name these examples in your. Because manipulation cannot survive the light of recognition. It thrives in silence, in confusion, in your refusal to face what is happening. The moment you ask these questions with honesty, you begin to pull your power back. And in that reclaiming, you remember, no one owns you unless you hand them the leash. Manipulation works not by it exploits the body, distorts the mind, hijacks the emotions, rewires your behavior, feeds on projection, and erodes your ethical clarity. If you do not see the mechanisms, you will mistake the leash for love and obedience for virtue. Physiological hooks. The body reacts before the mind. When someone praises you, your chest expands. When they withdraw long before logic arrives, your nervous system has already been captured. Manipulators know this intuitively. They spike your dopamine with attention, then starve you of it, training your body to crave their approval. Ask how many of your choices were not choices at all, but reactions to a clenched gut or a racing pulse. If your body is already hijacked, what clarity remains for your will? They didn't mean it. I'm too sensitive. I owe them another chance. Your mind invents excuses to reconcile the conflict between intuition and behavior. This is cognitive dissonance, and manipulators rely on it. The more you rationalize, the deeper the hook. Ask, how often do you talk yourself out of your own instincts? Whose voice lives in your head defending what drains you? Emotional hijacking, the shadow exploited. Guilt, shame, fear. A manipulator doesn't create them. They find the ones you already carry. If you still fear abandonment, they withdraw affection. If you still crave approval, they flood you with praise. If you still hide your anger, they provoke it and shame you for it. Ask which emotion undoes you fastest: fear of loss, hunger for love, dread of conflict, need to be seen. Until you integrate that shadow, anyone can use it to steal. Affection, then coldness. Permission, then punishment. Over time, you become trained. You anticipate their reactions, adjust your words, edit your truth, until you are living in a script you did not write. Jung warned, repetition carves grooves into the psyche. Ask how much of your daily behavior is genuine choice, and how much is choreography designed to keep someone else appeased. Projection, the power you hand over. You admire their strength, so you shrink. You fear their judgment, so you obey. You idolize their charisma, so you silence your own. Projection is one of Jung's most merciless lessons. What you refuse to claim in yourself, you will worship or fear in others. Ask, who do you still treat as superior when in truth they only mirror what you've disowned in yourself? Ethical inversion, the guilt of saying no. Perhaps the most insidious mechanism is moral confusion. Manipulators frame your resistance as cruelty and your compliance as virtue. They call you selfish for protecting your peace. They call you disloyal for naming the truth. Ask how many of your boundaries have died on the altar of being good. How many times have you confused self-erasure with compassion? These mechanisms do not announce themselves. They feel like life, like habit, like personality. You say, "This is just who I am," when in fact, it is who you became in order to survive. But Jung and manipulation thrives not because others are powerful, but because you are unoccupied in your own center. So ask now with full honesty, which mechanism captures you most? The body that obeys fear? The mind that excuses? The emotions that flood? And until you stop the machine, you will keep calling your obedience virtue, your captivity love, and your silence peace. But once you see the system, the spell cracks. Then you no longer ask, why are they doing this to me? You begin to ask, why am I still handing them the script? That shift is the beginning of sovereignty. Freedom from manipulation is not achieved in a single revelation. It is trained, rehearsed, and embodied until no hook finds purchase. Machiavelli showed you how others use fear and affection as levers. Jung showed you why those levers work because of what you leave unintegrated inside. To never be manipulated again, you must dismantle the hooks at every level of your being. 1. Track your body. The nervous system never lies. Your first warning: notice when your chest tightens, when your breath shortens, when your stomach sinks. These are signals, not accidents. A manipulator's power begins when you dismiss your body's protest. Ask how many times have you called dread overreacting? How often have you forced yourself to stay when your body already wanted to leave? From now on, treat tension as data. Your nervous system is your first. Expose the hook. Name the lever. Every manipulator uses a hook: guilt, flattery, fear, or obligation. The moment you name it, you weaken it. Ask yourself directly, am I being pushed by guilt, seduced by praise, silenced by fear, or enslaved by duty? Write it down. Speak it aloud. Naming the lever disarms its secrecy. Silence is the soil in which manipulate. Reclaim your projection. Take back what you gave away. Who do you still treat as savior, genius, or judge? Stop inflating others with qualities you refuse to claim in yourself. That charisma you worship, that strength you fear, that wisdom you obey, can you not also develop it? Jung reminds you, until you reclaim projection, you will break the script, interrupt automatic compliance. A manipulator thrives on your reflexive yes. Break the rhythm. Insert a pause. Say, I'll think about it. Delay the reply. Even a few seconds of silence disrupt the conditioning. Each pause buys you back sovereignty. Ask, when did I last give an answer without thinking? When did I perform for approval instead of choosing from clarity? Practice the pause until it becomes your default defense. 5. Practice boundaries without apology. You do not owe an essay for every no. You do not need permission to protect your peace. The manipulator survives on your guilt. They feed when you explain, defend, and justify. Begin with clean boundaries. No, I can't. That doesn't work for me. I need space. Short, clear, without venom, without apology. Ask, how often do I lace my boundaries with excuses? How often do I disguise no as maybe? Stop decorating your sovereignty. Speak it plain. 6. Rehearse shadow integration. Own what can be used against you. The manipulator only exploits what you exile. If you refuse to own your anger, they provoke it. If you deny your need, they exploit it. If you hide your ambition, they dangle it as bait. Shadow work is not mystical, it is survival. Name the traits you are ashamed of. Write them, speak them, own them. Ask what part of me still undoes me. What weakness am I still afraid to show? Once integrated, build sovereignty daily rituals of centering. Sovereignty is not a mood, it is a discipline. Journal each morning. What do I feel? What do I need? What do I choose? Sit in solitude until silence stops feeling like threat and starts feeling like home. Move your body, not for performance, but for ownership. These rituals rebuild the self so that when the manipulator comes, you are all. Train discernment. Not every smile is safe. Machiavelli warned rulers, exploit either love or fear, whichever works. Modern manipulators do the same. Stop assuming warmth equals safety. Stop confusing charisma with trustworthiness. How do you feel after the interaction? Clearer or smaller? Nourished or drained? Ask who leaves me doubting myself. Who leaves me apologizing for my needs? Who leaves me exhausted instead of whole? Trust that evidence more than their charm. These practices will not make the world gentler. They will make you untouchable. You will still meet flattery, guilt. Instead of worshiping, you will reclaim projection. Instead of obeying, you will choose. Ask yourself now, which of these practices do you resist most? Observation, boundaries, shadow work. That resistance is the very place you must begin. Because manipulation does not end when others stop trying it. It ends when you stop abandoning. It is to occupy yourself so fully that no lever fits, no leash attaches, no script takes root. That is sovereignty. And that sovereignty is yours if you are willing to train it daily. Manipulation will always exist at work, in families, in friendships, in politics. Machiavelli understood that power is a game, and Jung understood that the game is. The truth is sobering. You are not manipulated because others are strong, but because you abandon your own center. Ask yourself, how many times have you traded clarity for comfort? How often have you chosen harmony over truth only to feel hollow? How many of your yeses were really betrayals of yourself? Who benefits? You need to live occupied, rooted in a self that cannot be seduced by flattery or shackled by guilt. The manipulator thrives when you are fragmented, when your shadow is unclaimed, when your boundaries are absent. But the moment you integrate, when you own your anger, your desire, your fear, the hooks fall away. No one can use against you what you already carry with awareness. This is not a call to become hard, it is a call to become whole, to pause instead of collapsing, to reclaim what you've projected onto others, to train discernment so finely that charm no longer blinds you. So the question remains, will you keep rehearsing the script others hand you, or will you write your own? Will you keep apologizing for wanting peace, or will you claim it without shame? Will you keep calling captivity love, or will you finally recognize it as change? Today, identify one relationship where your truth bends. Speak one boundary cleanly without excuse. That act, however small, is the beginning of sovereignty. Because the day you refuse to abandon yourself is the day manipulation dies.